Team Fortress 2 is one of the most iconic, daring, most well carefully designed and executed first-person shooter games that there is out there. And that's no joke. Seriously, there are tons of videos on the internet over-explaining how amazing this game is and came out to be. However, more recently, fans of the game have been noticing some problems made by the Team Fortress development team and Valve, such as lack of communication, disappointing updates, and even overbuffing or nerfing a weapon, which has been worrying everyone who cares about the game and its amazing gameplay. So, I'm here to try and come up with a well-thought-out solution for all the problems you might have by introducing to all of you the Team Fortress 2 Back from Ashes fan update. Yes, it's still a working title, and it's obviously not official by any means. I literally came up with this idea a while ago and decided it should at least be spread around over the internet as what it is, just an idea. If someone actually decides to try and call out Valve or the Team Fortress development team about this update, please message me at any time you want on my Twitter. I'll be glad to see what we could do about it. Alright, let's begin. A new animated short would definitely fit perfectly with the theme of this update, which is trying to bring the game back to life by fixing at least most of its problems and flaws. I was thinking of something pretty small, yet quite significant and impacting, like the Meet Your Team series. So, how about a 2 to 5 minute short about the red team invading the blue team's base in 2 Fort and stealing their intelligence, as all 9 classes are reintroduced to the viewer and then escape the base with the briefcase in their hand and filled with glory. I truly believe that reintroducing the characters and showing a simple and very well-known game mode and map is the best way to relight the game's heart and soul. Introducing new players to the Team Fortress 2 environment is also a task that we should emphasize in this update, especially since the official game's current tutorial is obviously pretty rushed and badly designed. First of all, let's update the basic training by creating a new tutorial from scratch for each class so the player can learn more deeply on how to use the character's powers and abilities. And a bonus one, where the player is supposed to learn even more basic commands such as movement, crouching, shooting, and changing weapons. Once all the tutorials are completely finished, the player will be rewarded with a new achievement and a brand new hat, the graduation cap. When selecting the training option in the main menu of the game, the player will now also be presented with a new option besides basic training and offline practice, which will be called shooting range. In the shooting range, the player will be allowed to test their aim, strength, and abilities against targets. I believe community maps like TR Walkway and TR Karma would fit almost quite perfectly as examples for a shooting range option for Team Fortress 2. As good and fun playing casual may seem, it definitely shows some flaws that require some small fixing. For example, how about some kind of rewarding system, so the game can make the player motivated to keep on playing and spending more time on it? I suggest this. For every 15 levels achieved on the casual ranking, the user will now receive a brand new keyless random crate called Level Crate, which will include 1 to 3 weapons and 0 to 1 bonus drops. And for every new tire achieved on the casual ranking, the player will receive a different keyless random crate instead, called a tire crate, which will include 1 hat, 1 to 3 weapons, and 0 to 2 bonus drops. Casual games have also been receiving negative effects towards team adjustments and auto balances. So here's my proposal on the subject. You can now choose to change teams at any time in a casual game, as long as the enemy team has fewer players than yours. The game should now also instantly auto-balance the third player with most points from a team that has 3 or more players than the other. Auto-balances, however, should no longer happen if there's only one objective, or 3 minutes left for one of the teams to win the round. Random critical hits, or random crits, have caused several discussions all over the internet, creating masses of people from both sides of the coin creating different opinions based off how it is fair or not. So I have a very small suggestion: change random critical hits to just random mini crits, or RMC for short. Even though this game mode is the one that tends to offer more problems than the others, it's still considered very adored by the entire community, so why not fix them? First things first, the flag should now return faster to the intel room depending on how many players from the flag's team are around it. Second, the game mode should now have a timer for each team, which will be increased every time someone captures a flag. Holding a flag from the enemy team will also stop your team's timer from counting down. This way, the game will be at least more intense, obligating the team to make a move and at least try to complete the objective. Also, players should no longer be rewarded with crits when capturing a flag. That's just stupid. Considered to be one of the most broken and underrated systems in the entire game, competitive is urgently requiring an update to fix its massive flaws, especially considering the fact that all players in game will be punished if someone decides to leave it. Here are my current ideas. Instead of having to leave the server or play against bots, if a random player leaves, the game will be set into pause mode, where all players will be teleported and stuck in spawn until someone joins the match and the game can be proceeded. If the game hasn't started yet, pause mode will not be activated, but players will still need to wait for a new user to join. Players will also no longer be automatically disconnected from the server in the end of every game. Now users will have the option to stay and play in a different map. To incentivize more people to play competitive, I believe there should be a different and more interesting looking reward system when compared to casual. First of all, I would add a new wearable badge, which the players would receive after acquiring their competitive rank for the first time. This badge will always look identical to the player's current competitive rank level. Now, here's the fun part. For every game won, the player will now receive a CC, or a competitive coin, which can be used on a new store in the game located on the top right of the menu screen, next to the contractor. This store will allow the user to buy items such as any weapon desired, no reskins though, all war paints in the decorated War Hero, Jungle Jackpot, Inferno Reward, Contract Campaigner, and Winter 2017 War Paint collections, and 9 brand new hats, each one for a different class. The competitive map pool should now be updated to influence new kinds of playstyles and skills. CTF Turbine, Payload Badwater, and Payload Swiftwater should no longer be in the competitive map pool. Meanwhile, Payload Hoodoo, Payload Gold Rush, Payload Thunder Mountain, CP Codefront, CP Powerhouse, CP Gorge, CP Mossrock, Cough Lazarus, Cough King, Cough High Pass, CTF Landfall, and CTF Double Cross should now be in the competitive map pool. Another adjustment that I believe would help out to create more balanced games would be class limits. Scouts and soldiers should have a limit of 3, Pyros, Demomans, and Heavies should have a limit of 2, and Engineers, Medics, Snipers, and Spies should have a limit of 1. And finally, just to improve the game's experience and avoid silliness, players should no longer be able to taunt, and there are no longer restrictions towards the use of default view models. It is also now necessary for a player to be at least ranked 30 on casual to be able to play competitive games. Since the Jungle Inferno update, the contract system have been better than what they ever were, by offering the player better and prettier looking designs for the objectives. However, I do feel like it deserves a little bit more love. I believe the brand new contract system is good, but it could also be useful to teach new players and motivate them to complete as well as have some fun in-game. There should be 3 new types of contracts, one called classes, one called objectives, and one called competitive. The classes contract would be themed around all 9 classes and its abilities. The objectives contract would be themed around various game modes and objectives. And finally, but definitely not least, the competitive contracts would be themed around very specific themes that can only be achieved in competitive games, such as killing enemies and capturing points. Completing these contracts should only reward the player with blood money. The mercenary gift shop should be restored with brand new warpaints and warpaint cases as well. Along with all that, the Pyroland and Mercenary Park contracts should now be accessible inside of another folder in the contractor, called Jungle Inferno. This way, the contract system will not just look more organized, but they will also not make people think about a single past update when looking at it. As of right now, the replay system is quite literally useless. It's barely even functional, and it's not even allowed to be used in official Valve servers. It desperately needs fixing. The replay system should now be allowed to be used in any server desired, even at competitive and MVM servers. Recording a replay should no longer be based off the player's life, so from now on, the recording will start when the user presses the record button and stop when pressed again. And finally, it is no longer necessary to reload the entire server just to rewind a simple replay, and the QuickTime app should no longer be a necessity for saving movies. Even after all those updates and massive changes to the game, there are still some weapons out there that tend to be pointless and useless or just straight up overpowered and overused. So let's fix that. As to be expected, new weapons should definitely be a part of this update. So this time, instead of choosing a random character and updating their item slots, like the Pyro, I decided to be more simple and give each class one new weapon and an all-class shotgun as a bonus. As most of you already know, Team Fortress 2 art style have been downgrading pretty quickly over the recent years. So I decided to try and fix most of its problems by using a simple and smart trick: Halloween restrictions. I am very aware of how all of those changes might make some people angry and annoyed with this decision specifically, but I seriously could not find any other way around a solution like this. But if you have any suggestions, please tell me. Also, the Hot Dogger and Bot Dogger are now Scout-only hats, the Balloon Hoodie and Hazmat head case are now Pyro-only hats, and the Dark Falkirk Helm is now a Demo Man-only hat. Besides all that, I believe that paints should receive a small update as well. First of all, the paints Pink as Hell and a bitter taste of defeat and lime should now be way less saturated. The paints a color similar to slate should now be slightly greener, and a brand new paint should now be introduced as well, the Old and Rusty, which is basically a dark brown. The current TF2 settings tend to be very confusing, if not uncomfortable to use. There should be some big changes in this area as well. The default field of view and view model FOV are now set to 90 by default. Fast weapon switch, auto reload, dinglings, damage text, and damage text batching are now set on by default. Interp should now be set to 0 by default, and vertical sync should now be set off by default. Here are some brand new settings options that I'll love to see implemented to the game as well. The ability to disable all cosmetics in-game, or to leave just medals and or just hats. The ability to disable unusual effects in-game. The ability to disable all sprays and conscious objectors images. And the ability to set a transparency to your weapon from 0% invisible to 100%, which is normal. Just for the sake of making the game better in general, I decided to add a few bonuses here in the end. This update should also add 2 new Capture the Flag maps, 2 new payload maps, 1 control point, 1 King of the Hill, along with many cosmetics, hats, taunts, unusual effects, and war paints. It should now be possible to see how much metal engineers from your team currently have by putting your crosshair over them, just like medics and overcharges. When choosing a class to play in a game, the character selection screen will now recommend you what characters you should play as, depending on your team's current composition. Receiving an item from a specific random crate will now decrease the probability of receiving that item again by 20%, unless you have already decreased the probability of receiving all the items from that random crate by 100%. The player is now able to buy folders to expand their item inventory. Folders can be renamed with a name tag and will have 50 slots available in each one. Folders should be more expensive than normal backpack expanders, however, and folders cannot be stored in other folders. The community servers menu should receive a brand new and better looking design, along with the server list now showing what maps the servers are currently playing with an image of the map next to it. Add the player clip brush to all in-game stairs that are currently missing it. Pressing the reload button as Spy while disguised will now always play the reload animation of the disguised character. Spies should now be able to see enemy medic's current uber percentage and enemy's engineer current metal supply. The reserve shooters should no longer be equipable by the Pyro. The Eureka effect, Sharpened Volcano Fragment, Panic Attack, Quickie Bomb Launcher, Iron Bomber, Buffalo Steak Sandwich, Sun on a Stick, Backscatter, Postal Pummeler, Nostromo, Iron Curtain, Black Rose, Maw, Shri Rune Blade, Bat Outta Hell, Wanga Prick, Unarmed Combat, Scottish Handshake, Rocket Jumper, Sticky Jumper, Gunboat, Short Circuit, Robo Sandwich, Dragon's Fury, Thermal Thruster, Gas Passer, Hot Hand, Second Banana, Tie Turner, Base Jumper, Nasa's 9 Iron, and the Hamshake should all now have strange variants. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and some of the ideas that I have presented on it. I know it's not much, but hopefully it's enough to make the game's overall feel and enjoyment much better. Also, if you have any suggestions of what this update could add more of, please tell me in the comment sections down below, and I might even make a second part, including more updates and ideas. Alright, see you guys later. Bye!